Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News this Thursday morning. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Let's start with the headlines. Major leg up for the Niti Aayog. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to chair a meeting of the think tank today. Will fine-tune Aayog's 15-year vision document for accelerating all-round development of the country. To get Congress's nod for GST passage, Cabinet approves key changes to the Constitutional Amendment Bill, does away with the additional 1% tax, states to get full compensation for first 5 years of the rollout. Lok Sabha passes a Benami Bill, Lok Pal and Lok Ayukt Amendment Bill. In the Rajya Sabha, MPs debate price rise, discuss the Campa Bill. Chinese incursion in Uttarakhand sounds red alarm. Chief Minister Harish Rawat calls it a matter of serious concern, asks for increased vigilance. ITBP submits report to the Home Ministry. And rains wreak havoc in several parts of North and Northeast India. Several areas in Srinagar inundated. Amarnath Yatra suspended due to inclement weather. Assam flooded, death toll goes up to 13. 58 dead in Uttarakhand due to rain-related incidents. Well, the top story this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair a high-level meeting with the chief secretaries of the states and officials of the Niti Aayog today to take stock of its varied assignments. Now, Modi's interaction will focus on fine-tuning the 15-year vision document for accelerating all-round development of the country, along with a 7-year strategy and 3-year action agenda to allocate funds for the projects. Now, the vision document that will be enacted in the beginning of 2017-18 fiscal year will replace the earlier 5-year planning system that has been followed for over 6 decades. Well, apart from focusing on sectors such as infrastructure, commerce, education and health, the vision document will also cover internal security and defense, which were not part of the earlier 5-year plans. On to some other news. In the Union Cabinet on Wednesday approved changes to the GST Constitutional Amendment Bill. Well, the Cabinet removed the controversial 1% manufacturing tax from the bill. It will also mention that dispute resolution will now be decided by the GST Council. Moreover, the government has now included a 5-year compensation clause for the state governments for any loss that they may incur. Now, a select GST panel drafted the new bill with the above changes. Among other decisions, the Union Cabinet approved the setting up of a new AIIMS in Bhatinda, amendment in the Central Agriculture University Act of 1992, revised cost estimate for the National Automotive Testing and R&D Infrastructure Project, and also abolition of separate guidelines to set up joint venture companies by defence PSUs. Well, the centre was cornered in the Rajya Sabha on the price rise issue on Wednesday. The opposition charged the NDA government with failure to contain the prices of essential commodities and said that it has not slashed oil prices to pass the benefit directly to the consumer.
Dilip Kumar ji.
Replying to a short-duration discussion on price rise in the Rajya Sabha, Food and Consumer Affairs Minister Ram Vilas Paswan said the government has taken various steps to boost availability of pulses. He also maintained that except for pulses, rates of no food items have gone up and expressed hope that the prices would come down in 2 years. He also asked states to take stringent action against hoarders, besides slashing taxes to control prices.
पैदावार में कोई कमी नहीं है, कमी किस, लेकिन दाम क्यों बढ़ रहा है? उसका दाम का सबसे बढ़ने का कारण है सप्लाई चेन, और दाम का सबसे बड़ा बढ़ने का काम है जमाखोरी, और सर जमाखोरी है। अब जमाखोरी के खिलाफ में भारत सरकार के पास में कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट नहीं है।
Initiating a short-duration discussion in the Rajya Sabha, TMC leader Derek O'Brien said that the NDA government should be held responsible for the price rise in the country. He also accused the government of fudging numbers and calculations on inflation to suit itself. Other leaders from the opposition also said that the centre has failed to address the poverty issue.
So fudging of numbers and calculations is not what the people of India want to see, sir. So I go back to where I started. When we come back after 30 days or 60 days, this government has to be responsible for bringing down those prices in those 40 markets of India for which I've submitted those papers and the rest of the country.
मांग और उपलब्धता के अंतर को जब तक आप दूर नहीं करेंगे तब तक आप महंगाई कभी दूर नहीं कर सकते। लेकिन हमने तो इस पर कभी ये तो हमारे पास कोई आंकड़े नहीं, सरकारी पुराने आंकड़े चले आ रहे हैं, उन्हीं आंकड़ों की आबादी इतनी अधिक बढ़ रही है।
If inflation is going up today, it's going up because of these measures for which the central government and the central government alone is responsible. If you're collecting so much of money for augmenting your revenues, 9 times increase in excise duties on petroleum products. If you're doing with all these cesses,
आपका पूंजीपति तो आराम से रह रहा है, सुखी है, और हमारा किसान आत्महत्या क्यों कर रहा है? कोई साल बता दो जिस साल किसानों ने इतनी आत्महत्या की हो जितनी आपके यहां 2 साल के अंदर किया है।
Prabhat Jha of the BJP defended the government, claiming that contrary to opposition's allegations, price rise was prevalent in the 10 years of UPA rule.
2016-17 में 1.19 लाख टन दाल खरीदा और जनता को उपलब्ध कराने में लगे हुए हैं।
The debate also saw leader of the opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad telling the centre that there was no item whose price has not increased. Congress members later walked out of the house in protest. This is Panchanan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV. And the opposition Congress and BSP lashed out at the government in Rajya Sabha on Wednesday over the incident of a cow vigilant group beating up 2 women in BJP-ruled Madhya Pradesh. Now raising the pitch against the government, BSP and Congress members trooped into the well. In reply, the government assured a swift action and also urged political parties from refraining from politicizing the matter.
No sooner were papers tabled in the House, BSP chief Mayawati got up to criticize the BJP-led government for rising atrocities on Dalits and women. She alleged that just days after 4 Dalit men were beaten up in Gujarat, a cow protection group had assaulted 2 women in Madhya Pradesh over suspicion of possessing beef.
आप खड़े होकर बताएं कि मध्य प्रदेश में गौ रक्षा के नाम पर जो मुस्लिम महिलाओं का साथ जो उत्पीड़न किया गया है, क्या वो बर्दाश्त करने लायक है?
Leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad clarified that the opposition was not against protecting cows but ill-treating Dalits and minorities.
लेकिन गौ रक्षा होनी चाहिए, लेकिन गौ रक्षा के नाम पर बहाना करके दलित और मुसलमानों को टारगेट करने के खिलाफ है। ये हमारा कानून है, हम गौ रक्षा के खिलाफ नहीं है। Let it be very clear.
The BSP and Congress members marched into the well to register their protest against the government. Responding to the allegations, MOS for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi condemned the incident and said the government was ready for a debate on the issue.
घटना का बहन मायावती जी ने डिस्कस किया, उस पर तत्काल मध्य प्रदेश की राज्य सरकार ने उस पर कार्रवाई की है और जो भी उसमें दोषी हैं उनके खिलाफ जो है वो मुकदमा किया है।
On Tuesday in Madhya Pradesh's Mandsaur, a mob thrashed 2 women for allegedly carrying beef. Bystanders filmed the incident that was shown on social media. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the 2 women accused of possessing beef were granted bail by a local court yesterday. The court also asked them to submit a personal bond and a surety of 25,000 rupees each. The women were earlier booked under the stringent MP Anti-Cow Slaughter Act, which provides for a maximum punishment of 7 years. But the lab test later proved that they were carrying buffalo meat and were charged under Madhya Pradesh Agriculture Cattle Preservation Act of 1959, which provides a maximum punishment of 1 year. Well, the Lok Sabha on Wednesday passed the Benami Bill, which is the second initiative of the government to curb a generation of black money. The first, Black Money Undisclosed Foreign Income and Assets and Imposition of Tax Act 2015, was enacted to penalize those whose unaccounted wealth abroad was stashed.
Tightening its noose on black money holders, The Lok Sabha on Wednesday passed a comprehensive Benami Transactions Prohibition Amendment Bill 2015. Moving the bill for considering and passing, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said that the purpose of the bill is to seize Benami property and prosecute those indulging in such activities.
If there is a genuine property which belongs to a church or a mosque or a gurdwara or a temple, 58 says the government has the power to exempt it. But if you make an illegal business out of it, as you are suggesting just now, that the property is your Benamidar and you create a fake religious sect and start keeping Benami properties, then the government won't exempt it.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also assured that genuine religious trusts will be kept out of the purview of the legislation. Participating in the discussion, leaders of the House called for the implementation of stricter laws against black money.
I strongly object to Section 8 of the bill. This bill has a provision to seize Benami property and hand it over to the central government. This is against the core spirit of federalism, since land is a state subject.
A property, an acre of property worth 1 crore. The guidance value, normally it will be about 10 lakhs. They will purchase that 1 crore property for 10 lakhs by paying 1 crore and safely keep their 90 crores ill-gotten money in that land, in that vacant land. They have converted 90 lakhs and kept safely in the bank, that is the vacant and barren land. That is how this ill-gotten money is being spread over all over the country and it is not accountable.
These money transactions which are happening illegally reflects how bad characters we have, what type of money we are embezzling out. Almost is estimated every year 20 lakh crores. This is the money which we generate as a direct tax, indirect tax, state taxes and put together. This much money is being embezzled outside every year.
The bill specifies prosecution and penalty for entering into Benami proxy transactions. It also provides for a fine of up to 25% of the fair value of the asset and jail time up to 7 years. With Ravindra Shoran, Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And addressing the call drop issue in the Lok Sabha, Telecom Minister Manoj Sinha said that the government is committed to solving the problem in the coming months. Sinha also informed the Parliament that the telecom operators have been given instructions to improve the situation on call drop front. He also said that the telecom operators will be installing 1 lakh base receiver stations to offer better services to the customers. Replying to a supplementary, Sinha said that the Telecom Ministry is in touch with the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India or TRAI to ensure the enhancement of validity of mobile and mobile data from the present 90 days to 365 days. And the Lok Sabha approved an amendment to the Lokpal and Lokayukta Bill 2016 without any discussion. Well, this bill seeks to amend Section 44 of the existing Act. Under this, public servants are bound to furnish the details of their assets, debts and other liabilities within 30 days from the date they make and subscribe an oath or affirmation to enter their office. While Congress and left parties agreed that there was an urgency to pass the bill, they urged that the government should be stringent in imposing the provisions of the bill. Now, public servant in the Act includes NGOs, civil servants and parliamentarians. Now, 31st July is the last date for declaring assets for assessment year 2016-17.
सबका ये मत था कि थोड़े सा और इसको समय दिया जाए और हमने जो कहा कि स्टैंडिंग कमेटी पहले इस पर विचार कर चुकी है, उन्हीं से ये निवेदन किया जाए कि जितना जल्द हो सके इस पर थोड़ी अपनी और राय ले। लेकिन कदापि ये संदेश ना जाए कि सरकार ने कोई ढील बरती है और यदि आगे से सुझाव आएंगे कि लोकपाल को और सख्त बनाया जाए तो हम और सख्त बनाने को भी तैयार हैं, क्योंकि हमारी प्रतिबद्धता, हमारी कमिटमेंट भ्रष्टाचार को लेकर के 100% है।
And on to some weather update. Well, heavy rains continue to lash many parts of north and northeast states. And in Uttarakhand, 58 people have lost their lives.
2 women were killed and several injured in Himachal Pradesh, taking the death toll to 20 as heavy rains continue to lash parts of North India on Wednesday. The Met Department has predicted more rainfall in the next 24 hours. More than 300 houses have also been damaged across the state.
अगले 24 घंटों में हिमाचल प्रदेश के लगभग सभी स्थानों में बारिश हो सकती है और कुछ एक इलाकों में भारी बारिश भी होने की संभावना है। भारी बारिश जो है वो हिमाचल प्रदेश के वही जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट सिरमौर, शिमला, मंडी, कांगड़ा, हमीरपुर और जो चंबा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में भी जो पॉसिबिलिटी है कि हैवी रेन हो सकती है।
Residents of Udhampur district of Jammu and Kashmir chose to stay indoors as heavy rains battered the region since Tuesday evening. Amarnath Yatra was also suspended intermittently due to heavy rains.
देखो कितनी प्रॉब्लम आती है जब नाले तो एक दिन पूरा दिन टूट जाता है इधर बार बच्चे कहाँ ले जाने हैं, कहाँ जाना है, कोई साधन नहीं है रास्ते का दूसरा, यही रास्ता है, 4-5 गाँव का रास्ता है ये ऊपर तक।
Flood situation continue to remain critical in Assam with over 20 lakh people affected in the current spell of heavy rains in 20 districts. Rain-related incidents have claimed over a dozen lives in the last few days. The Brahmaputra river continued to flow above the danger mark, submerging houses and fields in many districts.
ब्रह्मपुत्र का जलपृष्ठ अभी गुवाहाटी में 20 तारीख से 20/8/2016 से अभी तक बढ़ रहा है। ये 25 तारीख को सुबह 8 बजे डेंजर लेवल क्रॉस किया है। आज अभी 3 बजे में 50.56 लेवल है। ये डेंजर लेवल से 88 सेंटीमीटर ऊपर से चल रहा है।
Around 200 relief camps have been set up by the West Bengal government in flood-affected Cooch Behar district. More than 5 lakh people have been displaced in 7 districts of the state. Meanwhile, in neighbouring Nepal, 39 people have been killed and several others missing as floods and landslides wreaked havoc, displacing thousands of people. The government has launched rescue and relief operations in 14 of the Nepal's 75 districts that have been affected by the floods. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in Breakfast News, time to take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Gyan Chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young, and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue, symbolized by the ladders, rewarded, while the vices shown by the snakes are punished. Each square, in turn, also narrates some message of wisdom.
Welcome back. News from Jammu and Kashmir now, where Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti urged political leadership in the country to revive peace and reconciliation process in the state through confidence-building measures. Now, Mehbooba urged the leaders to take measures to address the causes of alienation and trust deficit among the people in Kashmir and work towards finding a lasting solution to the problems plaguing the state and its people. She also called for an end to the violent protests which have resulted in the loss of human lives and grave injuries. She further added that violence has neither served any purpose in the past nor is it going to do so in the future, except bringing miseries to the people. Meanwhile, curfew was reimposed in parts of Srinagar, including the police station area of Srinagar, to foil a separatist march to Kulgam district. The march was called by separatist groups to pay tributes to those who were killed in the clashes and with the security forces. Normal life remained paralyzed for the 19th day in a row. Schools, colleges and business establishments remained closed, while public transport also remained off roads. Violent clashes in Kashmir have claimed as many as 47 lives so far and left around 5,500 others injured. And in the wake of the ongoing tiff between India and China over the scribes' visa issue, reports are now emerging of another incursion by the Chinese troops into the Indian territory. Now, media reports claim that Chinese troops recently violated the border in Chamoli district of Uttarakhand area and were seen camping along with the arms. Now, this despite the two nations having agreed to keep it a demilitarized area. The incident took place on 19th of July when a team led by Chamoli district magistrate and others, including officials from the ITBP, went for a survey of the Barahoti ground. Now, they were reportedly sent back by the troops of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, who claimed it to be their land. The 80 square kilometer ground had been agreed upon by the two countries to be a disputed part since 1957. An agreement was signed in 1958, according to which both sides agreed to not send troops into the area. Only shepherds from both sides were allowed to enter the ground. Meanwhile, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat termed the development as something to worry about and flagged the issue with the centre. The ITBP has been asked to look into the matter and it has submitted a report to the Home Ministry.
वो बॉर्डर लाइन जो है खींचा नहीं है, वहाँ पे मार्क नहीं है, तो उसको लेकर के थोड़ा सा आपस में बातचीत हुआ, फिर अपने अपने जगह चले गए।
चिंताजनक है और हमारा बॉर्डर अपेक्षाकृत शांत रहा है। हम प्रारंभ से ही कहते रहे कि यहाँ विजिलेंस आप बढ़ाइए करके। मैं समझता हूँ भारत सरकार जो आवश्यक कॉग्निजेंस लेनी है वो लेंगे और सूचना बिल्कुल सही है।
There should be no doubt in anybody's mind. Basically, China is not a friend. You know, they have been propping up Pakistan just to hurt us. You look at the stand they took in NSC. So let there be no misconception about China being a friend. China has sorted out its boundary problems with every other country except India. Now that should tell a story.
रक्षा मंत्री को बयान देना चाहिए संसद में, अगर चीन ने हमारी सीमा का अतिक्रमण किया है और भूमि पर कब्जा किया है, तो ये बहुत ही चिंता का विषय है।
And Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar on Wednesday said that a floating object was found in the Bay of Bengal but could not confirm if it belonged to the missing aircraft AN-32. Now, Parrikar further added that no compromise would be made in the rescue operations of the aircraft that went missing with 29 people on board. An intensive search for the missing transport plane entered the sixth day today. The AN-32 aircraft disappeared on 22nd of July, soon after taking off from Chennai's Tambaram Air Base to Port Blair.
There is no confirmed report of anything, but there are some objects located. The ships have been asked to verify them, and unless something is positively located, it cannot be confirmed. As of now, it is only indicator. And we are not leaving anything to chances. So we have asked ships to check up.
On to some other news now. In the fourth Home Minister level talks between India and Bangladesh will be held today. Bangladesh Home Minister Asadurzzaman Khan is on a 4-day visit to India and will hold talks with his Indian counterpart Rajnath Singh. The talks will largely focus on the growing activities of Islamic State in the Indian subcontinent, radicalization of youth and also anti-terror cooperation. The talks will include a review of the implementation of the land boundary agreement, security and border management and related issues. During the visit, Bangladeshi delegation will also call upon President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They will also be visiting Udaipur and Kolkata during their stay in India. On to some international news and adding a twist to the uproar over Moscow's alleged intervention in the US presidential election, Donald Trump has called on Russian intelligence agencies to find 30,000 of Hillary Clinton's deleted emails. He was referring to emails on the personal server that Clinton used to conduct official business as the Secretary of State, but did not hand over to the State Department. Now, Clinton's campaign insists that Trump was endangering national security and conspiring with Russia.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press. Let's see if that happens. That'll be next. Yes, sir.
Drama continues on charge of Russia seeking to influence the US presidential race. On Wednesday, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump appeared to incite Russia to hack into and publish Hillary Clinton's private emails. This came after Democrats accused Russia of hacking emails from the Democratic National Committee (DNC) for Trump's benefit. Trump took the opportunity to take a swipe at his rival Clinton, who did not hand over 30,000 emails as part of an investigation into her private email server.
Putin and the leaders throughout the world have no respect for our country anymore, and they certainly have no respect for our leader. So I know nothing about it. It's one of the most far-fetched I've ever heard.
Trump's comments came when Obama administration is looking for options for possible retaliation against Russia for cyber attack on the DNC. The FBI is continuing its investigation into the leak, which included emails that showed that DNC officials favored Clinton and derided her Democratic rival Bernie Sanders. Clinton's campaign says Russia carried out the hack to weaken the Democrats and help Trump. Democrats expressed shock over Trump's remarks.
I think that was a very foolish mistake on his part because he's not thinking. He doesn't know how protocol works. He doesn't know about foreign policy. And why is he reaching out to his best friend Putin for? Is he going to, because they're pals, as opposed to doing the right thing? No, he's an idiot.
I think it's crazy for a presidential candidate to be asking for a foreign government to interfere in a presidential election in the middle of that election. So I think it's beyond reprehensible for him to do that.
Shortly before she was sworn in as the Secretary of State in 2009, Hillary Clinton set up an email server at her home in New York, which she used during her 4 years in office. An FBI investigation concluded that while Clinton should not face charges, she was extremely careless in her handling of classified information. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Let's get you some more international news now in World Wrap. Turkey has dismissed nearly 1,700 military personnel and closed more than 130 media outlets amid a deepening crackdown that has stirred alarm among Ankara's NATO allies following this month's failed coup. A total of 1,684 military personnel have been dishonorably discharged, citing their role in this month's coup attempt. According to the Turkish government, 3 news agencies, 16 television channels, 45 newspapers, 15 magazines and 29 publishers have been ordered shut down. The Islamic State released a video of 2 men it said were those who attacked a church in France. Meanwhile, a mass was held in honor of Roman Catholic priest Jacques Hamel, who was killed by these 2 Islamic State men in the church attack in north of France. Hundreds of people, including several politicians, also attended the mass in tribute to the father. A suicide bomber riding an empty livestock truck laden with explosives blew himself up in a crowded district in the predominantly Kurdish town of Kamikshili in northern Syria. The attack caused massive destruction and killed 44 people, claimed by the Islamic State group. The Israeli troops raided the hideout of a Hamas fighter and killed him before demolishing the house. Now, sounds of gunfire and explosions echoed through the streets of the West Bank city of Hebron. The militant was killed in an overnight raid, during which residents of the Palestinian village of Surif reported lengthy exchanges of fire between the Israeli forces and gunmen. The Israeli military said that the Palestinian was responsible for a drive-by shooting earlier this month that killed a rabbi in the occupied bank. Israeli forces also arrested 3 other militants. The big sports story, well, wrestler Narsingh Yadav's fate for the taking part in the Rio Games will be decided today as the National Anti-Doping Agency's disciplinary panel will pronounce its verdict on the dope scandal surrounding the wrestler. Now, Narsingh's lawyer presented the case before the NADA committee, and the hearing in the case is completed and a decision will be probably out in the evening. Meanwhile, Narsingh Yadav's hopes for Rio seemed bleak after he failed a second dope test as well. Now, Narsingh claimed that he had been allegedly framed by his rivals who allegedly spiked his food supplements and meals. His supplements have reportedly been found clean. Narsingh filed an FIR at the Sonipat police station, naming 2 fellow wrestlers and demanded a CBI probe into the case. The Maharashtra wrestler was picked over 2-time Olympic medalist Sushil Kumar after he won the quota place with a bronze medal in last year's World Championships. Following the doping storm, Praveen Rana was named as Narsingh's replacement in the 74-kilogram category, a move that has been approved by the United World Wrestling.
Hearing has not been concluded. Okay. Both sides, there are still time. The other side also has to put in argument, and we have to counter argue that. So there is time. We have full faith in the National Anti-Doping Disciplinary Panel, and we hope that the right decision comes.
Well, that's all in this edition of news, but news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks so much for watching.